Hey guys, it's Heather from Here She Grows, and today I'm getting after this area. And if you remember several years ago, maybe 4 years ago now, I built this structure with my husband because we were espaliering trees. And as you can see, I have a dead tree here. This is a Kiefer pear. This is my third dead tree. I cannot keep a tree alive in this section. But several years ago, I had a Zephrine rose that got zapped by a polar vortex and died, but it did great here for several years, and it just covered, I just had a trellis here. I did not have the structure here yet. So I'm gonna go back to the rose. I'm kind of giving up on espaliering any trees anymore. I'm kind of disgusted with it. But I'm gonna be planting a David Austin rose here, as well as transplanting my Étoile Violette Clematis. So I'm gonna clear the area first, and then I'll show you what I do next. So let's get after it. Look at that root system, which is basically nothing. I have no idea why I cannot get a tree to grow here. It's a very narrow space, so I'm wondering if it has something to do with the foundation being right there and some alkalinity that's being introduced to the soil from the concrete base of the foundation. I think that might be what's going on, so maybe a tree is not the right thing for that spot. But nonetheless, it's out of there, and now I'm going to clear the rest of the space and get it ready for my rose. It looks better already just getting this space cleared. So I started soaking my bare root rose last night, and you want to rehydrate these guys. And first, let me show you these roots. Look at the roots on that. Isn't that amazing? So this is a Gertrude Jekyll climbing rose. There's a shrub version and a climbing version. I picked the climbing version for the trellis. But when you get them bare root like this, you want to rehydrate them. So I began soaking this last night just in a bucket full of water, and I like to add a few drops of Super Thrive. I've always added it. It's been around for ages, and it's not a fertilizer. It's more of like a vitamin supplement for stressed or plants that are going to be transplanted. So that's been soaking in this, and you could actually soak the entire plant. You could do the canes as well. I didn't do that with this. I just have been soaking these roots since last night, and they got a really good drink. I chose the Gertrude Jekyll rose because, one, it gets to be about 10 feet tall, and my structure is pretty tall. I need something that's going to cover it well, and it's hardy to zone 4. Previously, I had a rose here. It was a Zephrine rose. It was absolutely beautiful. I think I mentioned it earlier in this video. A polar vortex got it, but I know a rose will do well here, and I'm hopeful that this one will too. But I picked Gertrude Jekyll for her size, for her cold tolerance, hardy to zone 4. Her blooms are very large blooms, very fragrant. They're kind of a hot pink color, maybe not quite hot pink, but very pink, big cabbage roses. And in the catalog, and I'll link to all these things that I mentioned in the video below, but in the David Austin catalog, it mentions this is a great shrub, great climbing rose for shady sites. This is on my northwest wall, so I'm filming it in the morning. Sunlight does not hit this area until about maybe 2 in the afternoon, so it is a shadier site. West facing, northwest facing. So I figured this would be a really good choice, the hardiness and the light tolerance. So I have another David Austin rose. I have a few actually, but I have another one named Munstead Wood, and that is the name of Gertrude Jekyll's garden in England. She was a famous garden designer. She's written several books. She wrote a book called Color Schemes for the Flower Garden, and it's a great read. There are a lot of very relatable things that she says about gardening. One of her lines that jumps out at me, and I'll never forget it, was, "It's not the fault of the plant that's misused or employed in dull or even stupid ways." And I thought that was so brilliant. I mean, it's a very direct way of saying right plant, right place. So that's why I chose this rose. This is the right plant for this space. So I hope that she would agree and not think I'm using it in a very stupid way. But I'm gonna dig the hole now, and I'm gonna go dig up my clematis as well shortly, but I wanna place the rose first. When I'm digging my hole, I want to make sure that I get this plant set at the right depth. And the right depth, you want your soil level to come up about 1 inch into the green part of your canes here. So all this gets covered well with soil, and your soil level will be about 1 inch up into the green. Okay, so for positioning, I like to use a bamboo cane And I'm gonna lay out my roots, turn the plant how I want it to be, space out my roots, kind of get it in the middle of this bed. And then the bamboo pole, so that it's resting on the side, at the sidewalk level, right up to the foundation of the house. And I can kind of get an eye for about where I need to fill my soil. So that's about 1 inch up into the green part of the cane. So I think that that's pretty good. I just have to make sure my roots are laid out nice. They're gonna be covered well. And I'm gonna throw a couple shovelfuls of compost in here. I like to sprinkle in a little bit of biotone before I plant the rose. It's got mycorrhizae in it, which helps with root development, and it's a nice organic starter fertilizer. So I just sprinkle a little bit in. Make sure I got it on the roots. And then I'm going to add a couple shovelfuls of compost. And it's such a tight spot. It's about a 2-foot space, so I'm really trying to work these roots. The roots are really long. Really trying to work the roots in here and get it all in and keep this at the right level. You might have to adjust it a few times because I have a tendency to push down on the roots. So just the bamboo rod gives you a good visual so that you can keep it at the level you want it at. And then we'll just backfill with our soil. I'm not going to backfill the entire thing because I still have a clematis that I need to dig in place on this side of it. So I'm going to leave this slightly exposed so I can get the clematis in there. So we're going to go over and grab a 12 violet, which is a group 3 clematis. I say clematis. My grandmother was British and she said clematis. So I go with clematis, but people say clematis too. But this is a 12 violet and she is a beautiful beast, gets massive, and I think she'll be a nice companion to my Gertrude Jekyll climbing rose. So she's over here, so let me reposition the camera and I'll show you. This is my A12 Violet Clematis, and she can get huge. So I cut her back about 2 weeks ago. She's already starting to show signs. She's got some buds here. I'm gonna dig her up. Clematis roots are very shallow and they're wiry, so they break easily. So we'll be very careful about how I dig this up. And then we'll transplant it over with our rose and finish up. Let's get her planted. So when you're planting clematis, you can plant them deeper. So I'm looking for the first buds here, and I've got one kind of like right here. I'm gonna go about 1 inch above that. So I'm gonna make sure that this is planted at a depth so that I can backfill with soil so that it's about 1 inch above that first bud. Add a few shovelfuls of compost for this guy too. I almost forgot. I have to get my alliums back in here. I had millennium alliums in here. They needed to be divided too, and I smell like I've taken a bath in onions right now, but that goes along with the territory. So I'm just gonna divide these alliums that I had and add them in here, and then I'll mulch it, I'll water it in and then mulch everything, and we should be good to go. that I had that rose soaking in with the Super Thrive in it. And I'm gonna water in, I'm gonna dump it on my new plantings here, and then I'm gonna mulch it. And that's it. I'm gonna get the hose, water it all in, and call it a day. Hopefully my rose and clematis here will have a better chance than the 3 espaliered trees I've tried in the last several years. But I'm gonna wish it well, water it in really well, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you never want to miss a post, subscribe. That would be fantastic. And I'll see you in the next one, guys. Thanks for watching. Happy gardening.